this meeting. So there we go. I am recording this meeting. And there'll be plenty of opportunities to ask questions. I think everybody on the team is comfortable with you, people just raising their hands or jumping in with questions if you have one. All right, so you can move forward to the next one. Technology overview. This is really just what I covered, the Q&A at the bottom of the page. If you're on the phone, I don't see anybody on the phone, but in case you get booted off, which happens, and you need to rejoin by phone, if you want to raise your hand, if you have a question, then please hit *9 and we'll allow you to talk then. Okay, next page. And then polling, we actually do have a poll. It's a demographic poll. We're trying to get a sense of who we're reaching to also get a sense of not reaching, so we can do a better job at hearing from all voices. So I'm going to launch that poll in just a minute. And again, well, nobody's on the phone, so I guess I don't need to cover this. Oh, we do have a third person that joined us. Welcome, Greg. All right, next one. And so the demographic poll, again, this is a questionnaire that we have that is completely optional. You don't have to take it, but we definitely appreciate it if you do, so we can get a sense of who we're reaching, so we can get a sense of who we're not reaching. So I'm going to launch that. Again, it's optional, but I'll give you a few minutes to take that. We don't share this information except in an aggregate way, so nobody will see this. And let me launch this. So please go ahead and take the poll if you'd like. All right, 5 more seconds. Okay, thanks everyone. I'm going to go ahead and end this poll and we can move on. All right. And these are Zoom meeting norms. This is basically asking everybody to treat each other respectfully and be cordial with one another. And if you're on the phone, to move to a quiet place, just so we can hear you. We've had some troubles with that. And I think that's it. I think we can move on. Oh, and then follow up. What's that?
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, and then the follow-up. So after this, the meeting summaries will be posted on the website that I gave previously. We also have the link to that posted later, I think. And then we'll be considering all of this. Your feedback will be balanced against technical and cost considerations for the recommendations for this effort.
Okay, I'll jump in here and continue to. I see there's a question there, and we'll talk about that question too, and continue to feel free to add questions as you see fit. This is the agenda. We'll do quick introductions, quickly kind of go through some of the overview of the public engagement, and then Vaughn and Carmel will go through project design, the approach of the staging, and then question and answer. So my name is Chris Wall. I'm with Wade Trim. I'm a project manager. the Way Trim team actually has a contract with the city of Ann Arbor to perform project management and oversight of projects. And so we've been, you may know Mike Nearing, who was a prior project manager on this project, and he has retired from the city of Ann Arbor. And so we were the engineers on the project doing the design. And so we were asked just to add that project management component. So that's where myself and Vaughn and Carmel will support the project in that regard. We also, Nick's not on, but Nick Hutchinson is a city engineer, and he's always available for contact if you have any questions or concerns about the project. And then as you've seen, Heather is our public engagement specialist at the city and provides a lot of guidance and support for us on this public engagement process. Also joining us are Vaughn Martin and Carmel Tremblay from Way Trim, and they're key designers and management of the project. And so you might see familiar faces as well, as they've met with many owners on the project in the initial phases here. So the project limits are on South Main Street from Huron to East William. There would be some work on side streets at Washington, Liberty, and East William, just far enough so we can connect the water main to this, to the Main Street water main. To the north, Huron is our limit, and there'll be some work in the intersection. And to the south, the southern limit is William Street, and there also will be some work done at that intersection. This is a map showing the project. To the left is north, so Huron is on the left side. That's our northern limit. And then we have the 3 blocks through Main Street, South Main Street, down to William Street. And some of you may have heard that the reason and the need for this project is primarily the water main. It's old and it's at its end of its life. Has a lot of non-functioning valves. Those valves and that diminished capacity in the water main raises lots of issues and concerns about performance and reliability. So there's a big need to replace this water main to provide the proper service to the businesses along the street there. As well as you're probably well aware, the street is in poor condition and we need to repair and update it. Some of the key items in this project are the replacement of the 8-inch water main with a 12-inch. So that will meet the current and future demands of businesses and properties there. It also will provide the fire flow needs along the stretch of Main Street. There's also we're doing some investigation of sanitary sewer leads that might need to be fixed. And then we're also encountering that there's a trolley track buried in the road there. And so that will need to come out, as well as some brick that is in different places in the road. And then obviously the sidewalk, though we're not updating the sidewalk, there are some ramps that will have to be fixed on those sidewalks to make sure we meet Americans with Disabilities Act. So all users can have access to the sidewalk. This is a quick timeline. This is one of the updates on the project. At the bottom here is 2023. That's when the project is programmed to actually be under construction. So we're not building this next year, we're building it the year after. 2021, currently, we've been going through this public engagement as well, tracking along a similar timeline. We've also been working on design. And by the middle of next year, we plan to have the plans in place and have coordinated with the property owners and trying to minimize the impacts as much as possible so we can put the project out for bid at the end of 2022 so we can facilitate that 2023 construction. And what we've heard in past discussions and meetings with business owners and properties there is it's just a list of some of the key ones that we've heard is minimizing disruptions to the business, We've received feedback on how to stage the project to try to minimize the duration of impacts to businesses. We have asked about working on the weekends, and there really hasn't been a big preference. We've heard, if anything, try to not work on the weekends. There's, as I mentioned before, there's trolley tracks in there. People are asking how much time, if we have to remove those, how much time we're adding to the project, and it's approximately 2 weeks. People want to be kept appraised of the water main shutdowns as it's being installed and tested and reconnected to the businesses. Obviously want to be very involved in that and understand that the impacts. Also review the ability to still have outdoor dining, i.e. on the sidewalk or on the road. So those are items that we're still reviewing, and also understanding the impacts to sidewalks. For the most part, we're trying not to impact the sidewalks. We want to maintain pedestrian traffic on those sidewalks. But that is obviously something we'll continue to review and continue to engage the business owners with. And then also, will the sidewalks be improved as part of the project? In general, it's not part of the project to improve those sidewalks. So that is a component that we are looking at, but it's not planned to go through and do a wholesale replacement of the sidewalks. And now I'll turn it over to Vaughn or Carmel, right?
Hi, good evening. So in this section, we're going to talk about the project design process and some of the things that we've encountered along the way and give an update on those. As Chris indicated, my name is Vaughn Martin. I've been involved with the project since its inception. So we're going to talk about the trolley track foundations. Uniquely, we discovered that these were in place and verified that through the soil boring process. And they essentially, which we'll see in a bit, they go the entire length of the project, right down the center of Main Street. So they just covered them up instead of removing them. So they're there, and little bit of history we're going to be taken out. So, and then jumping in, there's some existing sanitary sewer leads that we need to verify, and that is in process. And we'll talk about that in more detail as well. And then we'll go over the planned water main alignment and show you our current layout, which is, it's not 100% fixed, but there's a lot of thought, a lot of design effort that's gone into it, incorporating both utility conflicts and hydrant placement in relation to FTCs and such. And lastly, we'll discuss the construction staging options as well. And we touched base during the last meeting as well on this, and we'll show that up in this meeting. So can you advance the slide? Okay. So what you're looking at here on the top is existing road cross section, an actual typical from many years ago. So this was built as it's shown, and then as you see it now in the field, it's been capped with asphalt. But as far as we can tell, all of this cross section is in place. We've discovered the brick areas on the right and left in the parking bays that are out there. And some of those areas it's exposed, and you can physically see the brick. So we know the brick is there. We know that the trolley track foundation, which is identified in the center, is there. And the soil borings have actually indicated, there's a soil boring that a section of the white oak tie was in it. So it's pretty neat, that part of it. And so what you see below is what we're proposing to go back, and what you will see. So in the center with that lighter gray hatching, that is the area where we will remove the trolley track. as well as the trench for the water main, and that will be backfilled with both sand and new aggregate base. And then all of it will be capped with asphalt. So the sanitary sewer leads, we have reviewed all of the sanitary sewer leads along the entire length of the project. There are several that appear to be unused. So we are coordinating with the city and having those services TV to see what kind of condition they are in. And at that time, when we determine that, we'll determine if we're going to replace the leads or remove them in their entirety. Next slide. And in relation to the proposed water main alignment, Carmela is going to hop in and discuss that.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention about on the previous slide about the sanitary leads. I think we had mentioned this at the past 2 meetings, but the reason that we were investigating them is because we believe some of them are connected in the back. They're not connected typically to the sanitary sewer in Main Street. So I think we had mentioned that in the last 2 meetings, but just wanted to bring it up again in this meeting. So we might need to install new ones properly in Main Street for those ones that are connected to the back. But moving on to the proposed water main alignment, I'm just going to go over a couple of items that we've had to consider during the design of it. Vaughn mentioned some of these, the extension of the water main itself along each of the side streets, so Washington, Liberty, and Huron. Existing utilities that have to be avoided, proposed hydrant locations, and then as Vaughn mentioned, the fire department connections, which are the FDCs, so I'll explain those a little bit more in detail. Next slide, please. So this is just a graphic to show you the general area that we're working in. So the blue area is definitely where we're replacing water main, all the way to the sides of each intersection to get outside of the influence of South Main Street. What we're considering right now are the areas in pink, which extend the water main all the way to the alleys on each side of South Main Street. So the water main can be replaced there, but it's a matter of balancing cost, pavement replacement, disruption to businesses, traffic control, all of that's being considered when we take a look at how far to extend the water main on each of those side streets. Next slide, please. So this is our proposed water main alignment. If you attended the last meeting, you've already seen this, but we've added preliminary hydrant and valve locations. So because this is such a heavily commercial area, the requirements for hydrant placement and valve placement are a little bit more stringent just for fire coverage issues. So every part of every building needs to be within a certain distance of a hydrant. So as a result of this project, you will likely see more hydrants along the corridor than are there now. And that's to bring the corridor up to fire coverage standards. The other item is the FDCs that I talked about. So most of the buildings, well, all of the buildings along South Main Street are commercial buildings, and many of them have their own fire services. So they have separate fire department connections. And so each of those comes with a more even more stringent requirement from the distance from the fire hydrants. So again, more hydrants and more valves along the corridor than you're seeing now. And understanding that we have to balance meeting those standards in this commercial corridor with avoiding all the utilities that are out there, as well as minimizing impacts to parking. All of that put together is what we're trying to balance here to put for the ideal location of the hydrants and the valves. In terms of the water main alignment, I think, again, like I said, you've probably already seen it. It's that blue line there, a little bit difficult to see, but that gray hatched area in the middle with kind of speckled pattern, those are the trolley tracks. So Right now, in this section between East William and Liberty, the water main is right on the edge of those, but really in order to install that water main, we essentially have to take out the entire foundation. So you can move to the next slide, Chris.
And you might want to speak to, I know you talked about the locations and trying to optimize the hydrant locations, but there is a little bit of flexibility in that, and it's still kind of being reviewed. So the places
Yes.
that they're currently shown are not necessarily set in stone, but this is kind of the optimal locations, but it's still to be adjusted.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I think the main thing to say about the hydrant and valve layout is, well, you probably won't notice the valves at all, but the hydrant layout is you probably will notice more hydrants out there than are currently existing, just because of the commercial nature of the corridor. So moving along between Liberty and Washington, as you can see, we kind of talked about those side street limits. We haven't shown the full extent of them yet because we aren't exactly sure where they're going to connect into the existing main. But the water main alignment along Main Street runs along the same area there, right on the edge of the trolley tracks. And then we shift over to the west side, right at Washington. And then next slide. And then we stay on that side until we get to just south of Huron, and we shift a little bit more to the west on Huron. And then we'll be you can see the connection north of Huron there. It's about 200 feet north of Huron will be the endpoint of the project. And I think I'm handing it back to Vaughn now. Thank you.
You're muted. Wow.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Carmel. So construction staging, obviously this is a big point to cover. So what to expect with the project at this time, we are moving towards a two-stage approach. The previous meetings, we introduced other options, and the two-stage approach seems to be the most favorable, and it makes the most sense at this time. So the thought behind that is only one section of Main Street would be under construction at a time, and it would leave the on-street parking and traffic, it would remain accessible for business in the unaffected areas. So business or traffic traveling into and out of town will always be maintained via either Washington or Liberty. The area along Main Street that will be open for business will be maximized. We'll always have emergency access to all the businesses along the corridor. And some of the things you may see, there may be driver confusion as this thing progresses. So there, in order to alleviate that, there will be descriptive press releases. We will have the corridor signed accordingly. We will utilize message boards, and all of those things will help to provide clarity. And we have to anticipate that there'll be a few additional days needed that are added to the project schedule for setup and takedown of the work zone signage. So stage one of the project will involve the section from William north through Liberty on Main Street, and the intersection at Liberty will be closed, and a section that we may extend this a little bit north from where you see it now. It may extend mid-block, but we show it for the purposes of showing the impact for traffic. We stop it just north of Liberty, and you can see the northbound traffic we're proposing that it go down to 4th through the construction zone area, back down Huron and back to Main Street. Oh, I'm sorry, not Huron, back to Washington, and then north on Main Street. And then all of the southbound traffic is proposed to go right or west on Washington to Ashley, and then south on Ashley, back to William, and over and back to Main Street. So that comprises of stage one. Associated with stage one, we're going to have to come out into William to do some work initially. That's in order to begin the start of the water main construction. We'll have to excavate here. We'll have to locate some utilities and then take off north. And while we're doing that, we're gonna essentially reduce William to a two-lane roadway through this intersection. And so stage two of this effort, at a later date, when the section of Main Street water main is constructed all the way to or through Liberty Street, that water main will be tested and the connections will all be made. And we will then have to go back out into William and shut it down. And in order to make the connection to the existing William Street water main. When this happens, we'll have to reduce the lane on William down to one lane, essentially one-way traffic through here.
And that would be a short duration for that connection.
Yeah, so we would be looking at, 3 or 4 days maximum, I think, in order to make that connection and get out. So moving to stage two of this. So we make it from William through Liberty, and now we're on to phase two, which we will extend from the point where we stop in phase one and continue north. We will shut the intersection down at Washington Street and stop just south of Huron. And those are the limits that will involve stage two. Similarly to stage one, we will utilize both Ashley and Fourth to accommodate north and southbound traffic on Main Street. And so the overarching goal for these two stages is to have construction complete by the start of the art fair. So the art fair can go on as is without any other interruption from the construction component. So once we're through the art fair, we would take off on the Huron Street, so the Huron intersection work. And this, what you see here is stage one, where we will have to shut down the southern half of Huron Street to perform the water main work. So that would be stage one. We will go through that half, and then we'll hop on the other side of Huron Street and perform the water main work on that side, shifting traffic now to the southern component of the intersection. And we would do the connections that we need to make there, and then we would advance to the stage three of this work. And in that section, we would narrow up Huron Street down to essentially 2 lanes. Well, 3 lanes is shown as there, but 2 of them would be under construction. So next, okay. So going through the duration, again, as I indicated previously, the intent is to complete phase 1 or stage 1 and 2 over the course of 20 weeks ahead of the July art fair date. And so we anticipate, again, it taking us 20 weeks to get there, and it's estimated, and it doesn't account for any unforeseen delays or other significant events that are out of the city's control. We have put a lot of thought into this time and the duration, and so that's what we feel, given those other items, that's what we feel that it's gonna put us in the ballpark at. It's 20 weeks. And then the post art fair work, we'll call it. So this work is going to occur after the art fair is complete. Anticipate an additional 7.5 weeks to get through the Huron Street intersection to 200 feet north to our end of our project. So during construction, we're going to work to maintain pedestrian access on both sides of Main Street. That is a given. It will happen. We will make sure that all businesses are able to be accessed through pedestrian traffic. Again, that's emphasized in the second bullet there. There may be some occurrences where we have to reroute some sidewalk areas due to if we have to replace a lead or something of that nature, but that will be quick. Like, it will not be the duration of the project or of the stage of the project. It'll be more like a day or 2 or 3. So there will be scheduled water main shutdowns that will occur. We will work with all of the businesses in providing as much advance notice as possible. And we will schedule these in such a way that they are the least impactful to the businesses. In doing so, we'll take into account nighttime water shutdowns if they're necessary. And again, we'll inform you of these as well. Next slide. So what do you want us to know and what is important to you? Is there anything that we missed that we should consider? What are your concerns?
Actually, why don't we take a moment now to answer these questions that are coming in, and then we can get to the questions that we have for people.
Sure.
So we have the first question is, hi, I manage the building at Conor O'Neill's main restaurant and was asked to ask, many businesses want to delay this. Is that still possible?
And I can try to answer that. And I appreciate you, Joe, providing comment and feedback like that. It's definitely something that we'll share with the staff. All the comments, all the concerns, all the questions you have are all going to be documented and shared with the Ann Arbor team. And we'll go back and see how that would influence or impact our design as we're preparing it. But in general, the project has been planned for 2023. And so there's definitely a need to get this water main fixed. And the concern is by delaying it, delaying it a year, is that going to be beneficial? Or are we asking for a delay of a longer time frame? The more that we push this out, the more we're probably going to have problems with the performance and the reliability of the water main. So it is critical that the project get done relatively soon. But given that, we'll definitely still take your concern, and we definitely want to talk to not only you at Conor O'Neill's, but also other restaurants and other businesses and get feedback from you so we can make better informed decisions on the project.
And then the next question that we have is, I would love to see a year-round car-free pedestrian plaza from Huron to William, attractive brick surface, allowing restaurants to seat outside. This would provide much character to the main street and be a commercial focal point. Any thoughts on this? And then the follow-up to that is, that of course is after the water main replacement. And I realize that this is beyond the scope of your project at hand.
Yeah, thank you, Doug, for your questions. It's great to have people provide comments and feedback about the vision. And I think all of us being involved in this, we would love to see it become more than what it is, because we are coming in there and fixing the water main and repairing the road. But at this point in time, like you realize, the main focus is the water main and then the road resurface at this point. We are engaging this with the DDA as well as the street association, as well as all the businesses, just to get feedback on their desires on the project. But right now, the DDA is not interested or has the funds set aside to do any improvements on the streetscape. So at this point in time, the vision is really focused on the water main and the road resurfacing. But given that, appreciate your input, and it's definitely going to be shared with the team, and we'll see what happens.
And the next question is, are galvanized water feeds still to be replaced?
Yes, without question, they will be replaced. They're actually set to be replaced ahead of this project, the ones that are known. So the city is working on that process as we speak. So if things go as planned, those galvanized leads should be replaced before this project is underway.
So Heather, I mean, we have 3 people here. What do you think about opening up and having more of an open dialogue? Do you think that's
Sure.
possible?
Yeah, I'm giving them all permission to talk. So Doug, Greg, Joe, if you have any questions or just want to have a conversation, please feel free to unmute yourselves and jump in.
Yeah, any other thoughts that you might have?
I had a question about, we still have a fire sprinkler connection through the building next door to ours. And I think there's a rather significant tap fee to add a new tap. And I'm wondering if that's being addressed at all, if we would still incur that. It's probably not your area. It's probably city council or something, but we'd really like to add our own connection there, but probably won't do it at the current cost.
So Joe, what you're telling me is you're interested in having your own service for fire or for domestic
Fire
water?
sprinkler, fire
Okay.
sprinkler service, yeah.
Okay. And you're interested in that, but given the tap fee, you're kind of not currently wanting to invest in doing that.
Right. I don't know if the city has any interest in people having their own tap. But yeah, I think what I heard was something like $90,000. And if it's anywhere near that, we're not going to touch it.
Mm-hmm. We can investigate that. I think this is obviously the perfect time to do something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if us doing the project is necessarily going to reduce that tap fee. My guess is that's probably something set in stone. But let us take that question. We'll go back and we'll talk to the team and see if we can't get you a better answer.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
What is your business address, Joe? There.
It's 318 through 326 South Main. So we're currently using service through 312 or 310, 314, 316.
And Joe, would you be interested in doing some like a site visit or walk and talk?
Sure.
So we can, gather up more information from you and listen to your concerns and things that you're thinking.
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, we can. If you would, I'll go to the next slide. And if you wouldn't mind, just sending me an email.
Okay.
And we'll set something up.
Great.
Any other questions or thoughts by anyone?
Yeah, hi, this is Greg. I just want to confirm I understand the proposed schedule, at least for the end down by William, is if you're talking about 20 weeks prior to art fair, that means starting in February with frozen ground, right?
Yeah, we would begin the process in the latter part of February, and it would be subject to frost law removal. You know, the frost law is coming off, so we can start excavating and start the removal process. But yeah,
Right, which is that usually happens in February? Isn't it usually later than that?
It is usually later. And I would say that the reason we're doing it in the segments that you see is if we are impacted by that schedule, we can still complete the amount of work we can that we can before art fair and tidy it up. And then we can always finish it up after the art fair as well, if that makes sense.
Okay.
yeah. So working with the frozen ground isn't the biggest challenge. There is the frost laws and being able to haul the stuff, the material away that needs to be hauled away.
Right. Main Street's probably a Class A road, right? But it's the other roads you got to worry about.
Yes. But we understand, we know that, you know, there's an assumption there that it could be impacted right out of the gate.
Great. Anybody else have any other questions?
Yes, hi, this is Doug. Thank you again, team, for your work on this. Maybe I missed it, but what are you anticipating for the water shutoff period? Is it hours or days?
Sorry, Bonnie.
So typically, you know, and they can range from, you know, a half a day, 4 hours on some of those connections that will be made on the side street to, you know, an 8-hour shutdown. We typically aim for 1 day, you know, 1 business day. In this case, because we're anticipating the effect of the business owners, you know, in your operations, we anticipate some nighttime shutdowns to get away from affecting your core hours of business. But it would be rare that we would have to extend beyond like an 8-hour shutdown. Like there would have to be a major occurrence for that to happen. It's not impossible, things happen, but if things go well, we're looking at an 8 to 10 hour max shutdown.
Yeah, and we generally try to set a very realistic time frame, and then if hopefully deliver in a shorter period. So on past projects, we've done a 4-hour shutdown and got it done in 2 hours. Sometimes we've done a 6-hour one and got it done in 3. So that's generally what we're trying to accomplish. And then again, like Bon said, you're trying to find that right time that limits the disruption to businesses.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, because we're a resident on the street, so nighttime matters. Thanks.
Yeah.
We'll have ample notice then, right? A couple days ahead.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, the routine is that we actually go door to door with flyers, orange flyers that say specifically when the shutdown is. At the same time, during construction, we have an email thread of all the stakeholders, residents, business owners, and we give an update on when to expect a shutdown for the duration. So we try to reach out to you. Plus, we'll have a construction inspector on site that you can reach out and talk to right away. Some of the feedback I get sometimes is when we schedule a shutdown early morning, let's say at like 6 o'clock in the morning, just to get it done so businesses can function later on in the day. One of the complaints we usually get would be like the water went off when I was in the shower type thing. So we definitely want to make sure it's communicated and everybody's prepared for it.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks,
And
Doug.
those are typically given out a minimum of 48 hours. I think it's 48 hours in advance, right, Chris?
Yep, 2 days. Yep. Any other questions? Well, encourage you to spread the word. Reach out to your neighbors or your businesses adjacent to you, and let them know to reach out to us and that we want to talk to them, because we want everybody to be informed and provide input on this project. So we definitely appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
All right, Heather.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Doug.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Heather, for